This is Chit Chat, the encouraging one note podcast. Interviewing musicians, comedians, sports personalities, basically whoever has a story, and sharing it with you. Also featuring music from around the world, artists of all kinds of genres. This is Chit Chat, the encouraging one note podcast. What's always about encouragement, and who doesn't need some encouragement? Kick back and relax for a fun time. Great music. Encouraging words for you today. This is Chit Chat, the encouraging one another podcast. The first song we're playing today is by Riley Nicholson. Can't wait to get him on the podcast, share his music, and hear his story. This is American Southern Dream here on Chit Chat.
Lit up her smile, though she knew that I'd be gone for a while. At the airport we kissed goodbye, and I gently wiped the tears from her eyes. It was a late night, red-eye flight. Signed up last summer, I joined the Marines. I'm gonna miss that blonde-haired girl of my dreams. She's my American Southern dream, with her little angel wings tattoo. We fell in love by a bonfire light, but she looked in my eyes and I knew it was true. Now our faith in God help us stand the test. That time has got us going through my American Southern dream. Oh, I'm gonna wait for you. Yeah. We got married that very next May, both of our hands on the Bible as we prayed. Lord, watch over the rest of our days, and as I go on to fight for love, honesty, hope, and faith. Jesus on my side, I know I'm gonna make it. While away my other family's the Marines, I'm gonna miss that blonde-haired girl of my dreams. She's my American Southern dream, with her little angel wings tattoo. We fell in love by a bonfire light, but she looked in my eyes and I knew it was true. Now our faith in God help us stand the test. That time has got us going through my American Southern dream. Oh, I'm gonna wait for you. Yeah. Gone since that glorious day. That American Southern dream took my breath away. With the rose-colored lips and a long white dress, now we have 2 kids and a life filled with happiness. She's my American Southern dream, with her little angel wings tattoo. We fell in love by a bonfire light, but she looked in my eyes and I knew it was true. Now our faith in God help us stand the test. That time has got us going through my American Southern dream. Oh, I'm gonna wait for you. Now, baby girl, I swear I'm gonna wait for you. From the Marines, I'm missing that blonde-haired girl of mine. dreams.
Raleigh Nicholson, American Southern Dream, here on Chit and Chat. What a great voice there by Lady Miranda. I really enjoyed her music. As I said, this is Chit and Chat, the encouraging one on the podcast. I reach out to a lot of people from all walks of life, musicians, comedians, sports personalities. I truly believe each and every one of us have a story. And when you share that story with others, it may help someone who is going through some hard times. I'd be amazed how many people I've reached out to, hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds. I get a good response from people who want to be on. And sometimes I don't get any responses. Sometimes they're delayed a few months. It goes to a junk mail or a spam mail. But so I'm excited when people reach out to me going, hey, I got that email or that messenger, Facebook, and just wanted to reach out to you. I'd love to come on. And this guy goes for my guest today. I reached out to him around the same time I reached out to Susan Bennett, who was on the original voice of Siri. And guy's message, and he said, love to come on. Totally forgot about it. But you know what? Not a problem. I got some things organized and rearranged, and I worked on my interview for him, and I can't wait to have him on today. His name is Scott Burns, and he is a huge voiceover actor. His popularity is huge. You ever seen Terminator 2? The bad guy who was a shapeshifter and can turn into anything. Scott Burns is kind of the voiceover shapeshifter person. He could be all kinds of cool voices, characters. He has narrated books and different dialogues and different accents. He is a cool guy. I checked out his website and a lot of his work. It's amazing. And I came across him a while back. I've been in here in Washington State since 1993. I heard him a few radio stations, and I'm going to reach out to him and find out if he's going to come on. And he is on today, Mr. Scott Burns. Can't wait to talk with him, get his story, and who's encouraged him, who's inspired him. Maybe he can throw some cool voices at us as well. But welcome, Scott Burns here to Chit and Chat, the encouraging one-on-one podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Chit and Chat. My guest is Mr. Scott Burns. He is I said earlier, the shapeshifter of voices.
What? Now hold your tongue and say shapeshifter and see what comes out.
I might get in trouble.
Yes, because Sally sold seashells to a shapeshifter once, and it wasn't a good result.
I thought T2, the Terminator 2, and he could transform different people and things. I'm like, that's Scott. He can do so many cool voices.
And thank you. I turn into chrome and liquefy it and all that fun stuff as well. But yes, no, it's a pleasure to be here on Chit and Chat. And
appreciate that. And before we dive into some fun conversations, I love kind of picking the brains of my guests, kind of throwing some oddball questions out there. So maybe you got a thinking cap on you can put on for a second. The one with the little red little light that flashes. Remember that hat?
Oh yes, was that a beanie hat? No, there was one. Well, there's many hats.
Yes, many hats.
I know the one with the propeller on it.
Yep.
But I think there was one with a helmet that had a little red light on the top.
Yep,
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
My dad was a fireman, so I got those as a kid often. I was running the house, I was like a fireman.
Envious. How cool is that? Your dad's a fireman.
Yeah, he was a volunteer for over 20 years down in Arkansas.
That's great. Did you ever get to go on any of the runs or any of the?
I went on one run. It was a house that caught on fire, and just kind of, he goes, "Do you want to go?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah. Wow.
And, he got in the paper a few times. Wasn't always fun to get in the paper. He didn't like his picture in the paper, but he volunteered for over 20 years with a full-time job in Camden, Arkansas. So.
Wow. Now, was there a Dalmatian dog on the force?
I don't think there was.
Did they ever paint spots on you and ask you to climb aboard?
I'm sure they asked.
Okay. We've got our mascot. Good.
Yes. The first question I have, you could turn back to any decade. What decade had the best fashion? I was born in 1970. You're probably a little older than I am. What decade had the best fashion?
I would say the 70s. Come on. Bell-bottom jeans? Yes. Yes, indeed. No, actually, probably the 40s. I think I've been seeing a lot of videos. People reconstruct or they take old film and redigitize it and make it look like it was just shot yesterday, which is fascinating. And I mean, come on, the fedoras, the hats. I mean, people they dressed up to go down to get a carton of milk.
Yes.
That yeah. I'm not that I try to replicate that wear, but it's hard to find it. But I do like the hats. And yeah,
I have a lot of Hawaiian shirts. I'm trying to find some cool little cabana hats.
Oh yeah, you can't go wrong with Hawaiian shirts. But yeah, no, probably that's an interesting question. I would say I'd say the 40s, and yeah, we're probably the best fashion era.
Sounds good. I'm a big voiceover guy. I love people who do voiceovers, cartoons, commercials. If you could invite 3 other voiceover actors, perhaps famous or not famous, or living, or they may have passed away, and they're no longer with us. Dinner for 3 plus yourself, all taken care of. Who you invite over to just have a good old time with just sharing stories about being a voiceover actor?
Well, it would have to be. Now, again, this is showing my age here, but Dawes Butler, the Huckleberry Hound voice, Hanna-Barbera, and of course Mel Blanc. Mel Blanc would get the seat of the front of the table, and I'm trying to think of a third one. But it would definitely be Pat Fraley. Now,
who's Pat?
Okay. Did you ever watch Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtles
Yes.
on TV and the voice the voice of Krang?
Oh,
that weird voice. And Pat, I've known Pat for many years, and he's actually the person I credit for me getting into voiceover. Because up until that time I had been just doing radio and doing funny dumb voices and cartoon characters and impersonations on for my radio shows. That's why I got into radio, so I could do that. But Pat, I'd heard about. I'd actually heard his voice before. He and John Aylward had created this a contest for radio stations, and it was called, in Seattle they ran them as the Stewart Street Mysteries. Now there was a Stewart Street in Seattle, and it was a like an old gumshoe 1940s back 40s 50s era detective type, those kind of old time radio shows. But it was a contest, so the listeners would listen, and it was Pat and John and doing these different voices back and forth of a mystery, and then they would get it to the point where the on-air host would say, okay, caller number 9, beat the 9th caller and tell us who do you think did it, or something like that. And they were so compelling and so creative and so well done. And I learned when I ended up working for KJR in Seattle, and learned that Pat Fraley was, had produced them for them, and they had, they made him there. And when I lost my job at KJR, the very first radio job I'd ever been let go from, they were taking a different direction,
right,
or whatever it was. Yeah, and here's the direction to the door. But they were kind enough to actually say, we feel kind of bad about this. Is there anything we can do? And I said I would like to meet Pat Fraley. And the general manager, who was, in office I was in, kind of looked at me strangely. Well, that's interesting. We thought you would want help with another radio station to go to. No, nope, I'm done with the radio. I want to meet Pat Fraley because I heard he's now working for Hanna-Barbera in Los Angeles, and I want to do that. And so this is pre-internet, so there was no way of hopping on Zoom to meet and talk with Pat. So I drove down to meet him. They gave me his phone number, and we arranged for me to go to his new apartment that he said he just paid with his Visa card, and the most kind man I could ever meet. And he said, "Let me show you my studio." I go, whoa. So we go to, and it's down a hallway or upstairs or someplace, and it was a bedroom, and it was a closet. And lo and behold, you pull the shirts aside, and there was a microphone on a stand, and down next to it was a tape recorder. And I'd never seen anything. This was my first home studio I'd ever seen. And Pat said, "This is how I do auditions." And I said, "Well, okay, what's an audition?" Because I had done, I'd been in radio. They give you you have a pegboard after your shift, and it has copy written on it, poorly written copy by the sales guy, saying, "Here's, we need these commercials produced for tomorrow." So I knew that how to record those kind of voices before, but I never really given it much thought that, oh, you can do this. Yeah, there are people who do this outside of radio. I had never thought of that. And so he said, well, here's what you need to do. You need to get yourself an agent and start working. And I was like, but I want to live with you, Pat. I don't want to go back to Seattle. But anyway, so on Pat's advice, I drove back to Seattle and promptly scoured there weren't many agents in that town. And the one that I found was an elderly lady who was primarily a theater agent, but she was kind of the ground dom of, and so I signed with her. And then eventually there was other more younger effective agents for me that I signed with, and they found one of the gals working there called me one day and said, "Hey, Scott, I found your cassette tape in this box of all these submissions we have here, and I didn't know you did cartoon characters. I didn't know you did voices." And I said, "Well, yeah. Is that a thing?" That's the only thing I had available because it was, tapes of my on-air radio shows bits.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "Well, this is what we should be focusing on." And I thought, really? So because prior to that, I was getting auditions for, ads for men with big tubby voices, that radio voice. I didn't have that. But the fact that she said, yeah, let's focus on your character work. And that I started getting jobs. And as a result, I ended up getting other commercial jobs too, but that kind of unleashed everything. And I hand that to Pat Fraley. And so, yeah, Pat actually moved over Mel and Dawes, who Pat actually said he had worked with side by side. And I'm just like, oh my, that's just the most incredible thing. So,
wow.
Pat would move over Mel. Pat gets the top of the chair.
Is it me or is Don Fontaine the godfather of voiceover work? I love his stuff.
Oh God. Well, yeah. And he's the king of, yes, he is. He's, obviously for movie trailer and things like that. But you can still hear his voice on. Yeah. And I understand that. I don't know if he wrote that, but he was a writer first. He was the copywriter. And as the story goes, somebody didn't show up. And he just went into the booth and cut it anyway. And I guess he used to do them anyway for time, for like a scratch track, as I understand how the story went. But they said that, well, yeah, you should be doing that. Yeah.
Do you recall your very first job you ever had?
As a matter of fact, I do. Well, the very first job yes, it was. For actual commercial work, and it was for a character. It was for a company called Great Northern Annuity. It was a bank, a financial institution. You would think, oh, okay, well, he's going to do a bank read. But what they were doing, and this was kind of common in the 80s, a lot of creative ad agencies would do parodies of other eras and things like that. It's, but this was, and now we're going back to the 40s. It was a parody of the 1940s Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy radio show. Are you familiar with Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy?
No, sir.
Okay. That's something it's on. I'm sure there's many YouTubes. So Charlie McCarthy was a ventriloquist on the radio. And he had and people would go, in those days, the live radio broadcasts, they would be like a theater. People would come and watch them, and they would all dress up and looking at that nice 40s flair. But so Charlie McCarthy was this. He was the dummy, but he was kind of dressed up in like a little top hat, and he was this smart one, I guess. He also had another character, Mortimer Snurd, who was kind of a big dumb doofy guy. But I got to play Charlie McCarthy in this, and I'm telling you, Mortimer, it's a lead pipe cinch. He had this kind of a voice where he would talk like this, and Edgar Bergen, now Charlie, don't. So as weird as it is to think of a ventriloquism act, because hey, I couldn't see his lips move. But anyway, that was my first job, my first foray, where they recreated the Charlie McCarthy, Edgar Bergen radio show for Great Northern Annuity. And it's a lead pipe cinch was something. Yeah, if you invest in your financial something with Great Northern, you da, 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 da. And then another guy got to play Mortimer Snerd, which I was kind of upset about because I thought I could do a great Mortimer Snerd too, but they recorded us at Telemation on Stewart Street. Oh my goodness, there you go. That's a callback. It was on Stewart Street that Telemation was this production company, or this house, that they had us in the studio with each other. So we were doing it live, like they did in the old days. So yeah,
Wow.
so that was my first, commercial radio job. And I think I still have a copy of it someplace. I don't know where.
And if you haven't written an autobiography yet, what would you name your autobiography?
Oh, man, Scott, out of auto tune. You've got some great questions here, Jody. I do
a lot of work on these things.
Yeah, I know. What would you suggest? I'll write these down. I'm taking notes.
I would go the man of many voices.
Oh,
I mean, I went to your website, listened to all your promos, read your website all over, and you just have so many cool accents, and just your plethora of voices is incredible.
He used the word plethora. Ding, 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 ding.
That's right.
I love the word plethora. I don't know why, but there you go. Oh, thank you. It really stemmed from me playing with toys. I used to have, there was a Fred or a Flintstone. They had little models, little plastic models you put together, and Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble. And I remember wanting to be able to have them talk. And, when I'm playing with these things, but I could never do Fred Flintstone, but I was kind of able to get a little bit of Barney Rubble in there. So he's kind of like that more. Hey, Fred. and of course that was a Mel Blanc voice too. But that's where I started. And then I would also watch, a lot of TV. I grew up on a farm, so there wasn't much for entertainment, but our black and white television set. But I would watch the Mayberry Andy Griffith show, and I wasn't a big fan of Barney because I just thought, man, that is a whiny man, and but I ended up being able to kind of replicate him a little bit, and I'm sick and tired of all this running around. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Yeah. Second, just nip it. So it just kind of, that was a way to cope with it, I suppose, to be able to just, goof around and mimic. I'm a big fan of parody.
And I'm a big fan of voiceovers. Like I said, I had Suits of Bennett on, the OG of Siri, the original Siri on. I looked up people, voiceover actors, and I just kind of pieced you guys together to get on. So I'm so excited to have you on. Can you share a little bit about yourself, your little brief bio about yourself, so people know exactly who I'm talking to?
Okay. Well, we'll start where I left off here. I did grow up on a farm in southeastern Washington, in the middle of nowhere. So that's where I kind of had to make my own entertainment too, I'd watch Batman and the Green Hornet and the Time Tunnel. Again, you'll have to look these shows up. Go back to 1966 television on YouTube. And I would just, that's how I entertain myself, was by fantasizing and just pretending. And then my father moved to greener pastures in Moscow, Idaho. And that's where I got my first taste of radio. I'd never seen a radio station antenna before. And there was one as you drove out Highway 95, and it was like, what is that? That's a radio station. So I took my interest in radio by seeing that antenna. And a friend of mine in junior high, Bill Lewis, his brother actually had been a disc jockey on a Coast Guard ship. So he was a member of the Coast Guard. So I was like, oh my gosh, that's like the best thing closest to celebrity. So we both had an interest in getting in radio, and would write little skits and record them and do all kinds of dumb stuff like that. And we ended up both working for that radio station in Moscow, KRPL, the kind of radio people like. And through high school and then I got on in the summertime working shifts, and then eventually a morning show, because that's where I ultimately wanted to go, was to be a morning show disc jockey, and ended up in Great Falls, Montana as my first job out of town, and then Spokane, and then Boston. And that's a whole long other story, but it's just a matter of being in the right place at the right time. And I'd sent a tape of myself, audio tape of my show, to my former boss, who was now in San Francisco. And I said, could you have the morning show guy, Dr. Don Rose, listen to this and just give me some critique? And Rob, the guy that I'd sent it to, said, well, I don't really see him all that often because we work opposite sides of the clock. But Harry Nelson, our program director, happened to hear it. He's moving to Boston and would like to hire you. And I'm like, oh, yeah, right. You're, because he was known to just joke around like people do. But he was serious. And so as a result of me sending that tape off for a critique, that program director, Harry Nelson, hired me, and they flew me out to Boston, and I ended up working there for the night shift, 7 to midnight. And that radio business is it's pretty cyclical, or there's a lot of revolving doors. And the guy that they'd hired to do mornings there had a little drinking problem, and the problem was he liked to drink after his shift in the morning, after he got off at 9. So, and he wasn't showing up for work, and they had to let him go. And I saw this as an opportunity to fill in. It was pretty bold to just go into the program director and say, hey, I know you're going to be looking for somebody else, but if you need somebody to fill in, I'd love to do it. And he was like, I don't want you to go totally Mork on me. He didn't like Mork and Mindy. He thought, I had a reputation, I guess, for being a little, wild. But I said, no, I promise I'll be good, because they were eventually going to shift it to a news talk station, so they didn't want too much zaniness. But that gave me the opportunity to get on there and do more bits, do more comedy, shtick, so that I could get another job someplace and show, hey, look, I'm on a big radio station here, WRKO, and that got me back to Seattle. And so that landed me at KJR. And the guy that I had grown up listening to, Charlie Brown, was retiring, quote unquote. And it's so weird, because in 5 years, I'd gone from a high school and in Moscow and ended up in Seattle in just 5 years. And it was just like, that's pretty weird. But
going over your bio, I saw some. Where do you get your funny tidbits and your voices at? And you said earlier, cassette recorder. I'm sure I lost half my audience going. The kids going, what is a cassette recorder?
I know anymore. CDs. What's a CD? Yep. It's getting. Yep. I know the technology is just crazy. So where do I get the ideas?
Yes, sir.
I don't know. I just I like to make people laugh. I like to take something. A friend of mine said, you take things out of the air, look at it, twist it around, and then spin it back out with your own perspective on it. So I grew up on parody. My brother had Mad magazines that I loved Mad magazines. And I watched Laugh In. Again, I'm well above in this. I'm mid 60s here. So I watched all these. This is when TV was great anyway. But,
of course, yes.
But so I grew up on Laugh In magazine and humor and parody. And I just find it. Oh, there was another thing too, back to radio. There was the radio commercials for Rainier Beer. Mm-hmm. And the Heckler and Associates was the ad agency, and they would do parodies. They had a guy who could sound like Elvis, and they had him singing an Elvis Presley, "Are You Lonesome Tonight?" And now I said, "With empties all around." He would, and they had great television commercials, and I was enthralled with how those sounded and how they made those commercials sound like other things, and that really spurred my interest too in audio production, because how can I do that? And my older sister, had a little reel-to-reel tape recorder, just a toy one that she bought with her babysitting money, that I soon kind of absconded with, because I just found it fascinating. I could sit on the couch and play with this little tape recorder and realize I can do things with it, and then multi-track we got another tape recorder, and I can play a trumpet into this one thing, and then play that back, and then play a song flute along with it. So,
did your parents ever think, Scott, you're a little weird?
Oh yeah, and they didn't encourage it, but they didn't try to tap it down, which I thought was great. That was another nice thing, that my dad would have loved for me to go into farming, I'm sure, but it just did not suit me well to get up at 5 a.m. and go feed animals, and trudge through manure in barns. Now later I worked in radio, and I learned how to do that, but no, and that just wasn't my thing. I wanted to play on the radio, obviously, be indoors and play my song flute like this. I still have it. Okay, but anyway, so that's where that's where my love of creative ideas just kind of flow through, and I just find a way to channel them.
Over the past, I don't know, 10, 12, 15 years, technology has really come into play with cell phones and everything else. How's that transformation helped or hurt you along the way of, getting other jobs? And, kids today got it made, back in the days you had cassettes, you had to go physically to some places and do interviews and, record. Technology has changed a lot.
I know it has. And it's now I'm nostalgia for the days how it used to be, when you did have to go in to record. Now, then it was kind of an inconvenience. You really had to plan if you wanted to go record in a studio, which was great, but you'd have to get there early, find parking, and then have enough money. When we were plugging them with the meters with coins, sometimes you'd be in a session. It's like, oh no, how do I excuse myself from this? Because the session's gone long and I have to go feed the meter or get a ticket, so that there was an inconvenience with that. Now everything is done from home with the technology we have. There's no need to go anywhere, which is great. I love that. But you also do kind of still miss that going into a place, chatting with the receptionist, seeing other people that you hadn't seen for a while. It would be kind of like a cocktail party if there would be like a cattle call, a group audition, and you'd see people you hadn't seen in a while, and it was just this big, hey, how you doing? Good. It was big social. It was more social, I guess. But as far as the physical technology, it's hard. Excuse me, it's hard to keep up. And I'm not a big tech guy, so it was a struggle for me when everything went from analog tape to digital. But man, did that free me up to be even more creative, and to streamline it. I had a production company for other radio stations. I thought, well, why can't I take what I used to do for my show and do it for other stations around the country? And because they're all in different markets, they're not going to overlap or anything. And that's became a little syndicator. And when digital happened, it was phenomenal, because I used to do a Tom Brokaw. Do you remember Tom Brokaw, the newscaster or the TV news anchor? I did part of my package for these radio stations was to, I would do little parody songs, the disc jockey promo, in a song. I had little commercial parodies and things like that. But also the anchor of that was Tom Brokaw. I called him Tom Broken Jaw because he sounded like, I'm Tom Brokaw, NBC News. He could never really understand. Does he have a broken jaw? So that became his name. And I would do 5 headlines, for one a day. And it would be like, "This is Tom Brokaw, uh, now I'm trying to think of a bit. Dairy scientists have discovered that when cows laugh, milk comes out their nose. You know, when dairy cows. So, but I had a pretty good list. I had about 25 clients, and to redo those in real time, that took a good portion of my Saturday morning of recording all of those. But when digital came along, I realized I can just record. This is Tom Brokaw with Tom and Jerry on WYZZ, and with a YZZ news headline or something, and I could have those digitally made and just stitch them together like little magnets, and it freed up my weekends to be able to do. It's hard to explain it here, but instead of doing it in real time over and over again and losing my voice and having to replicate the bit over and over again, I could just do the headline once and then just stitch the intro and the extras together, and it was seamless, and it was fun. So
I've lived in Kitsap County, across from Seattle since 1993. How long were you in Seattle for? I know I heard you on the radio several times over the years.
Yes, went there in 1980, October of 1980, and now my last air shift, my last on-air job was at KBSG, the oldies station. We were playing songs that were current when I was starting out in 2006. So you do the math on that. Is that, how many years is that in Seattle? 80,
20,
yeah, 27,
yeah.
26.
Yep.
Yeah. So, so that was that. And then my wife and I just moved to Las Vegas, baby. It's legal. You have to say baby after you say Vegas now. Baby.
Is that trademark? Like everything else is trademark?
Yeah. It's Clark County statute. So we moved here in July of 2022. So, so Seattle was the longest place I'd ever lived, and the widest place I've ever lived. Since from 1980 to 2022.
During your career, you did some great work. You worked for a lot of corporations, but the first speaking voice of a character from a video game was Bowser.
Yes.
How did that fall upon your lap?
Well, and it kind of did. So here's a case where it's kind of not what you know or how you know, it's kind of who you know. Wendy Wills is the studio manager for the Great Bad Animals recording studio in Seattle. I'm not sure if you're familiar. It used to be K. Smith, and then it was Steve Lawson Productions, and then it became, when Steve teamed up with Ann and Nancy Wilson of Heart, they took their album name and deemed it Bad Animals. Anyway, so Wendy knew that I'd been in there many times and knew her, and just a good friend. We'd do lunches and things like that. And so, but she, when Nintendo, which was based in Seattle, was casting for voices for this the next game, this Mario game, which was going to be unique because this will be the first time the characters actually spoke English. Some of them, other than ooh, ha, and all that. So Wendy called my agent and said, "Hey, we would like Scott to come in and read for some of these." So it was, rather than have a cattle call, she knew who she wanted, who thought would do the job for him. So I was called in, and it was just 2 guys from Nintendo and their laptops. And they said, "Are you, here are the characters." They had a little printout, it was the kind of dot matrix printout. They weren't, 3D or anything. And they said, now I knew of Mario, but I'd never heard of Bowser before, really. And they said, "Well, I'm not a gamer. I was driving a car." They said, "Well, yeah, you probably don't, because Bowser usually comes in at the end of the game and ruins everything for Mario. He's the nemesis and stuff." Yep. So, okay, that's cool. And he was great. He was Bowser. And they said, "No, he's a monster, right? But we don't want him too mean because kids are playing the game." So I just instinctively went, I did a Santa Claus because Santa loves kids. Kids love Santa Claus. But I just put a growl on him. So it kind of came out, "Ho, ho, 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 ho. Mario, how dare you disturb my family vacation?" So
Very nice, very nice.
so that's where Bowser that's where and they love that. Okay, that's great, and we'll move on. I also did Toadsworth, and some of these voices are just other versions of other characters I've made fun of. Toadsworth. Now, boys. I mean, he was kind of the older man, so he was that. Don't cross that line. So okay, they like that. And then another. Oh God, I think there was the. I'm the judge, and for the judge, there's an old character actor, Western character, Andy Devine. If anybody remembers Flipper, the TV show Flipper, and he was the old guy, and he was like, "Now, Bud, you and Sandy, go get the skiff, and I'll get Flipper." He was kind of just an old guy like that. He did a lot of westerns. So that's where the judge became. I know, and I think they pitched him up. They pitched it up a little bit to make it sound different, because I was also, or maybe that was the prosecutor. I think I'm the prosecutor. I know I'm the prosecutor and the judge in that game, and basically kind of the same voice, but they just pitched one up to make it sound different. So, but yeah, that's how that fell into my lap. And I remember my son was this 2002. He must have been 12. And I went home and I still had the page of that picture of Bowser that they'd given me. And I said, "Hey, look who I auditioned for and got today." And his eyes just bugged out. I mean, you talk about having a dad who's a fireman. I was a fireman, I was a cowboy, and an astronaut all rolled into one. He said, "You're Bowser?" And I said, "Is that a thing? Is that good?" And he goes, "Dad." I mean, and he was just kind of just dumbfounded a little bit. So it's like, so that was pretty darn cool.
Who are some of your most memorable characters? You remember exactly the character you popped up, or a commercial or a game or something like that?
Oh, well, I mean, it would have to be Bowser. I mean, now there's a lot of other games that were produced out of Seattle too. Humongous Entertainment was actually the first. They came before Nintendo did. And again, I think through Wendy, who knew me and brought me in for these reads and stuff. I don't know if you're familiar with Humongous's work, but they have a Putt-Putt. Putt-Putt joins the parade. Putt-Putt goes to the circus. This little car that would have to go through his neighborhood and get points and get groceries and mow lawns and stuff like that, so he could go to a parade. There was a racket in that town. But that also led to Pajama Sam, Spy Fox, and just a bunch of some other games like Tron. No One Lives Forever.
I love Tron.
Yeah, I was in Tron 2, I think. And I honestly don't remember a lot of the scripts you get are just words on a spreadsheet. They have you say things, so even for Bowser, it was like just they would say, "Okay, we need him growling, but we need it in 3.4 seconds." Because all their tracks, they converted them to MP3, so they're individual little files. So you would go, can you make it a little bit shorter? Oh, okay. It was that technical. So and they know they could speed them up a little bit like that, but they wanted to see if you could get how well you could get to it. And I actually got to do some ADR work, that dialogue replacement. So they had a video of Bowser laughing and jumping up and down and thumping his chest and stuff like that. So I did the voice to that. So I think it's in Mario Tennis, where he's and then he tries to get Princess Peach to give him a kiss. But but as far as memorable, I mean, I was Fatty Bear. That was my first job with Humongous, was Fatty Bear. And he's a teddy bear that his goal is to help make his owner, Kayla, a cake. So it's Fatty Bear's big surprise. And we're going to make Kayla a great big birthday cake. Oh, it's kind of creepy, but it's, it's hours of entertainment. Hours of entertainment. And I think you can still get it on a mobile app someplace.
When you get scripts for different sessions, do you ad lib them, or you kind of verbatim, or you just kind of just peruse and go? Oh.
Sometimes, yeah, a lot of ad libs. I mean, especially and they would use them, or they would actually kind of help write some of the. I would say, yeah. Oh God, there was one in the. This is for a TV commercial radio commercial for Sound Transit, where I was Buddy the Clown, and I was just like, hey, I'm just tired, hey, it's Buddy the Clown here, the Sound Transit, they just wanted this kind of sarcastic, kind of just the total antithesis of clown. And my big feet get, these shoes get a little weary, so I like to be able to ride the train and stuff like that. And I threw in, hey, did you see that guy up ahead? Or did you see that engineer up ahead? He's got engineers. And it's just a dumb line, but they thought it was a scream, and so they included it. So I forget. I'm not even doing the joke justice. Not that there was much justice to begin with, but yeah, I mean, ad libs are great, and especially in animation, it is kind of it's almost encouraged, not encouraged, but it's okay if they land, if they stick.
About 20 years ago, I got a chance to go to a friend's house, Bobby Shelton's house, and he helped me do an audition for Aflac.
Yes.
And that was so much fun. I actually made the top 10. And so
God.
It's so much fun. He wrote down angry, sad, constipated. So I just went, so I had so much fun.
That's great. And Bobby
goodness.
Sheldon, oh my God, you can't get any better than that guy. Oh my goodness.
Great.
Yes. Yeah.
To go in there and he closed that boot and is this soundproof? I'm like, oh, this is weird.
Oh yeah. It's something, isn't it, to be in a booth where it's just all warm and cozy and you hear yourself and as we hear you, so who did get the Aflac duck job?
I don't know. Some guy got fired for it, and it was opened up for a while. So I was happy I made the top 10. I was like, that was so cool.
I bet you they gave it to Ben Affleck. There you go. Where's my drum and cymbal?
Yeah. Would you mind sharing about some encouragement you kind of received along the way, perhaps from other, well-known voiceover actors, or do's and don'ts, or kind of tips that kind of helped you?
Yeah.
Yes.
This goes back to my radio, the radio side of me. There was this guy named Mike Dalton, and he's still around. I'm sure his name is still Mike. I used to fear him because he'd worked at KJRB in Spokane, and that was the station I grew up listening to. That I really, that was the goal. That was the Tonight Show. He was, of you wanted to be on that radio station, and Mike had been on there, and he ended up moving to Moscow, Idaho, when I was starting my career in radio there. He was teaching at the University of Idaho, and I don't know what brought him down there. Other than maybe to teach, but they hired him onto the radio station, and I got to have him be my mentor. And I feared him. Because I was so in awe and just like, it's just nerves, and I'd never been around that. He was the closest thing to celebrity I could ever imagine. And he even said, he told somebody else, he goes, Scott will never make it. He's too nervous. He's too nervous in this business. But that just made me even draw to him even more. So I just opened myself up to him, and he just my idol then too was that Charlie Brown, the guy that I had grown up listening to and replaced in Seattle. And I think I was imitating his style so much that Mike had once said, he goes, Seattle already has a Charlie Brown. You need to develop your own persona. And that was tough because it's like, well, everything I've been doing had been built on somebody else's shtick, or I was imitating to the point where that became my deal. So I kind of, that was probably the greatest piece of advice that I ever got that I can remember anyway. I'm sure there was others along the way, but I kind of hand it to Mike Dalton for setting my career in the proper path to be myself and do my own shtick, and not steal others.
Are there any training methods or recommendations you have for people who maybe be out there kind of they want to do something like this, not sure where to start? You just kind of I want to do it, but I'm not sure where to begin. What any tips or advice for someone out there?
Well, you go to scott@bookscottburns.com,
Ooh.
and I do coach. I coach and produce demos. Bobby coaches as well. Bobby would be a great. You can pass Bobby's information out there. But basically find a coach, and there are a gazillion coaches in the marketplace today. The thing you want to do though is make sure that you find one that you know of and have heard of and respect. I mean, I would try to stay away from some of the schools that say take 6 weeks with us and we'll get you a demo at the end and get you a website. They're not that they're not reputable, but you really don't want to be on a website with other voice actors. I mean, you'll be on their website, but just with your domain name at the end of it, and you just kind of have to just work through it and take acting, get some kind of acting lessons. Now, I say that, and I've never did any theater work when growing up or anything like that, because I mean, you think, oh, how many months and years am I going to have to study being a tree, and that kind of acting. What I would recommend is get involved in some improv group or improv classes. There's something about improvisation that, one, you don't have to memorize anything. And it really helps you be in the moment, think on your feet, react, and listen. That the main thing is listen. And because any more commercials and even animation cartoons and all that, they're looking for real people. Kind of the Dallas Butler and Mel Blanc days aren't as much, unless it's like a Ren and Stimpy kind of cartoon thing. You'll notice, like Pixar and Disney, they're all real voices, but they're acting. So it's an elevated version of yourself. But I worked with Gary Austin, who he founded the Groundlings in LA and big improviser. The Groundlings is where all the Saturday Night Live people, that was kind of the gateway to Saturday Night Live, which is the reason why he got out of it, because that's not real improv. That's not that isn't what this is about. His was about building scenes and playing games and to get to the root of acting. But I was fascinated by it, and I worked with him. And it wasn't until like years later that I finally he kept saying to me, Scott, you're doing that radio thing. You're doing that radio thing. And what he meant was, you're trying to go for the joke. You're trying to too hard to come up with the joke. And he's right. I was thinking, I've got to be funny. What can I say? And I wasn't listening to what was going on. So I kind of had a preconceived notion of, okay, here's where I think this punchline would be. Meanwhile, the other improvisers they gone off on this other beautiful tangent. And I wasn't listening. And it wasn't until one day I was getting ready to go into class and frustrated by my lack of improv skills, and just said, you know what, I'm just going to go and just be there. I'm just going to listen. I don't feel like I have to contribute. If I don't want to, I'll just pretend I'm a mime. I don't know. And it wasn't until then that when I listened and just reacted and as if I were like talking with you, Jody. I mean, we're kind of ad-libbing here, improvising. Yes. But I got a laugh, and I don't know why it elicited a laugh from somebody, but it was encouraging. And it was like, oh, okay. I guess I said something that struck a chord with somebody. I don't know. And that's the whole thing. You don't know what's going to make people laugh. So quit trying. So, and that has helped me in voiceover and doing commercials and all that, is just that envisioning, or not trying so hard to love the sound of my voice and make it pretty. And, I think we can fall in love with our voices in radio, especially because we all like to sound like we're talking on the radio. But yeah, Scott with you on a Monday. So that's why even some say take the headphones off because you're hearing your voice too much. But I think I'm rambling on here and forgetting what your original question was about. Advice. Advice for people wanting to get into it.
Yes, sir.
Do some research. And I'm sure you have a favorite already. If a person, a voice actor that you like already, follow their career, go on Wikipedia, whatever you have to do, and find out how you can maybe get information from them or people. If you have LinkedIn, I don't know if they're all on LinkedIn, but or Facebook or something. Just get find who you like and who you trust and who you kind of want to be. Be a ninja. Be a ninja, and find out who they studied for. Find out who they would recommend for a voice coach. But do get some coaching because you don't know until you're going to try, and it's not like you're a commitment to it where unless you're doing the schools where you have to be in it for a while. I just take you a day at a time and build on where you are now and go from there. And
Right.
And there's no set plan for anything. But you don't know until you try. It may not be right for you because anymore you have to have computer sense. I mean, you have to know how to record on your own. This is where that technology thing comes in now. Used to be you would go into a studio and they would do all the you go in and audition there. But now you're doing it from home, which is great. But also, if you're doing it wrong, you can be discarded because it's like, their acoustics sound terrible. If you don't have the proper, if the room sounds like a big echoey, like you're sitting at the kitchen table, they can't use that because they're most likely will be recording from your home studio. So there's an investment you'll need. You're going to need to, be able to purchase a really good quality microphone. Doesn't have to break the bank. It can fall in the $200 to $500 range. There's a lot of really good mics there, but you'll need to budget for that. You get yourself an interface, get yourself the computer that can handle big wave files, and I'd suggest a hard drive, an external hard drive for that, but just learn how to perform and have fun with it. So that's
Where do folks find gigs, like the audition for gigs? Is there a website or the websites? I guess.
Yeah. Well, again, back in the old days, I mean, and still, you'd have an agent. You can find an agent. That's where someone to represent you. But if you're just starting out, a lot of agents are not going to be interested because you haven't done any work yet. There's nothing to prove to them that they can make money off you. So thankfully or not thankfully, there are the pay to play sites, these online casting sites, and there are many. The top ones, the ones that have been around forever, are voices.com and Voice123. And there's other ones here too, but those are the kind of the big ones. But and they come with their positives and negatives. They will take your, to get in on those. They'll take your paycheck. I mean, they'll take your credit card. Yeah, you can get in. Other websites are they want to vet you, to make sure that you're not just so green that you will be an embarrassment to yourself. So
on your face. Right,
yeah.
Right.
So, but there are sites like Upwork, these freelancer sites for the gig economy, kind of Upwork and Fiverr, which, there's, how many hours do we have? Because
as long as you want.
Yeah.
I just love it. It really enjoy our time today, and I have a few more questions for you. What are you doing these days? And give any upcoming projects you're working on you could share about.
Oh, well, let me see here. Well, now here's a side. I've got projects. For me personally, I have some voice actors that I'm working with that I'm producing their marketing demos with, their voice demos. So those are little projects I have. I do have some, I've still audition every day through my agents. They send me auditions and I do those. As a result of being Bowser, the voice, I've recently started dipping into the Comic-Con, these conventions around the country. And just started doing that. I didn't even know how to do that. I'd heard, obviously knew of people who were in going to these conventions. I didn't know how until, and it's a random story. This guy goes, "How come you're not doing it?" Turns out he was the videographer for the Twisted Tunes that Jeff Zanini would do at like Emerald City Comic Con. That's where it would be a panel of voice actors, and they would have a script from like Trains, Planes, and Automobiles, or just various movies, and they would do the entire movie in their particular voices. Just it's comical. So Doug Russell was the guy who was the videographer for that. He happened to work just in the building across from where I was working, and had come in to help our videographer lay some cable. And we got talking, and he about the business and stuff. And that's when he said, "How come you're not doing these cons?" And I said, I don't know. And so he put me in touch with Jeff Zanini, the agent. And lo and behold, after it took a while, and then of course COVID hit, and then everything shut down. But I've went to the Midwest Gaming Conference in Wisconsin, went to the Netherlands last year.
Oh wow!
And now I'll be coming to Puyallup. I don't know if it's been announced yet, for the Western Washington, or the Washington State Summer Con. And I'm going to be there with. See, now I don't know if they've announced it yet, so I think I will refrain from saying anything more. But you can also go. I mean, it's in June, so you can that's been disclosed. June 23rd, I think, is the deal. Anyways, so that's a project. The project I'm working on is making my photo cards, and I'm designing some of those for myself to make them specific to the Sunshine Mario games. But I have other little. I'm also do work for Lionel Trains. For their professional set. Whenever you hear like a conductor, this is for the big train set guys. And so I'm the conductor on, all aboard the Silverbird Express, all aboard. And then it'll be again a bunch of different trains, and so that's coming up where I just go in and I don't. It's not a directed session. He just trusts me. I've also been a hobo in a camp, and I've been the caboose conductor, or whatever they're called. Also a brakeman, some of the yard workers and things like that. It's just for these big layouts. And when the train choo-choos along the track, it'll trigger an audio clip. And so it's the big, you're getting the audio sound of the train of the workers, in addition to the steam and all that other kind of stuff. So that's a lot of fun. And then, just other, I have some repeat clients that come back to me for things. There's a woman in Oklahoma who has me talk about, there's a stud farm down there. They have horses, big horse ranches in Oklahoma, and they have commercials for them. And, Velveteen Gray stands at 5 withers tall, and he's, it's kind of it's for this guy's website. And so, it's fun and unusual. Let me tell you that.
You want to share your website one more time for us as we begin to wrap up?
Say that again. What was that?
You want to share your website one more time?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, it's www.bookscottburns.com. It's kind of a command. It's, hey, we got to book this guy. So it's BOOKSCOTTBURNS.
There's great demos on there. I went through there, listened to several of your, I'm guessing the people you've trained and taught, and I saw Bobby's on there.
Yes, yeah, we did. Bobby did a commercial, and we did a promo and narration stuff. Love that man.
A lot of fun.
Yes. Jody, I can't wait. What's your website? Oh, I've got you here on Chit and Chat.
ChitChatPodcast.com is the website. Yes.
Yeah. Well, we got to get you out there in the world, and you have been doing some, right?
I've done 130 episodes of podcasting. I have a couple of radio shows. I get a lot of inspiration from my daughter. She has 4 or 5. She does a Russian accent, an Australian accent. I'm like, you got to get into this voiceover work, because she is amazing.
Absolutely. Oh, yes, indeed.
I can do an old man really good,
Seriously, monetize those children. Come on, pay
go.
for your own college education, for crying out loud.
Thanks for the opportunity. I'll give you a video chat here in a little bit. Thanks so much, Mr. Scott Burns.
Thank you, Jody.
Take care.
All right, man. Thank you so much. This is
Appreciate it.
Great. Well, now, do you want to jump on to onto the video?
Shoot me a video real quick.
Oh, I'll send you.
Right.
Should I send you a link? I can do that because I have a Zoom account. Do you want me to do that? I think I lost you.
As I continue to invite musicians from all walks of life, from all genres, to be a part of this podcast, share their music and get the music out there. I love getting responses from them. So yes, play my music. Love to be on sometime. This is C.W. Smith, his song called Burnt Hickory. Hope you like it.
A Sunday morn, church at 10 come sun or storm. My grandpa in the kitchen doing his best, waking everybody from their rest. Baking on the stove, grandma running around. The house was spotless for our little church crowd. The guitar ringing, Father Abraham, and all of us children singing with him. She would tell us youngins to settle down. You knew by that look she wasn't playing around. Grandma's here and now he's gone. Nearly 20 years, it's been too long. I got a childhood full of memories in a little trailer off Burnt Hickory. From that place I got my first kiss. I learned to ride my bike and how to fish. In the woods behind us snuck my first chew. And you better believe I got my butt whooped too. My grandpa taught me all about life there. I hope he'd be proud if he were here. 'Cause grandma's aging and the house is gone. About 15 years, it's been too long. I got a childhood full of memories in a little trailer off Burnt Hickory. I go back every now and then. Even now someone else moved in. It's It's not the same as it once was, and it never will without the ones we love. But I got a man like a dad to me, and a childhood full of memories, in a little trailer on Burn Hickory. I go back every now and then, even now with someone else moved in.
Great song there by C.W. Smith, Burnt Hickory. What do you get when you combine a brick oven, some homemade sauces, hand-breaded JoJo's, hand-breaded chicken, homemade dough, all in one place? You will find some of the best tasting food in Kitsap County. I'm talking about Chico Chicken and Pizza. Their menu ranges from all kinds of pizzas and specialty subs. They have some really good chicken meal deals for the family and great tasting sides. And their chicken is not your normal run the chicken. No. They don't throw the chicken in some fryer and call it good. Their chicken is brined, breaded, pressure fried, and prepared in a classic brine. They season it to perfection. Then they pressure fry it to a delicious golden brown to deliver the best tasting chicken in town. Some of the great sides they have are baked macaroni and cheese, with JoJo's like bacon and cheddar and garlic and parmesan, as well as baked beans and potato salad. Everything is made with the freshest ingredients every day. They are locally owned and operated, so why not give Chico Chicken and Pizza a call today and place your order at 360-550-4041 or their website at chicochickenandpizza.com. They are also located at 2165 Irvins Point Road in Wilmington, and they're open from noon to 10 p.m. every day. That's Chico Chicken and Pizza. Eat well, eat local. When we transported back in time to, say, the 1950s, as soon as you arrive at the Big Apple Diner, you'll be transported back in time. Their decor is amazing. Their menu is amazing too, with breakfast, lunch, and dinner items. Try something different each time you go. I've had the penny pincher combo, which is a combination of quarter pounder with cheese, french fries, and a milkshake or drink for $9.99. Where can you find a meal for $9.99? And they have over 30 flavors of milkshakes. You can literally have a milkshake a day and never get enough of the milkshakes, pies, and sundaes at the Big Apple Diner. Dine in or take out. Swing by and check them out. They're located at 6720 Kitsap Way in Wilmington, and their hours are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and they're closed on Mondays. Swing by and check them out. The Big Apple Diner. The website is thebigapplediner.com, or you can call and place your order today at 360-373-8342. Eat well, eat local, eat at the Big Apple Diner in Bremerton. I get so excited when musicians reach out to me and ask me to play their new songs that are coming out. And this is a brand new song, been out maybe a week. It's by Megan Story and Raymond Hayden. They're from Washington State. I've got a chance to meet both of them on my podcast. Not in person yet, maybe one day. But this is a brand new song called Lemons. Enjoy.
lost in the maze of those big city streets, left alone outside, no place to sleep, broken, busted, and bruised, in no way can be used. Take those lessons from the past, and please forget those things not meant to last. Hold tight to the laughter, look forward to the after. Don't hold on to the pain. Make lemonade, take down your fences, fill up your senses. Take all those lemons and make lemonade. Tight grip on the thing you started, though it leaves you broken hearted. You will rise through what remains. The sun will shine another rainy day. Hold tight to the laughter, look forward to the after. Don't hold on to the pain. Make lemonade, take down your fences, fill up your senses. Take all those lemons and make lemonade. Life is full of heartache, you can't escape. You have to learn to make lemonade.
What a great song there by Megan Story and Raven Hayden called Lemons. And you're listening to Chit Chat, the encouraging one another podcast. I'd like to welcome one of the newest sponsors to the podcast, Mr. Alex Pablo. He specializes in assisting small to medium-sized local family restaurants establishments in enhancing their brand, identify, and cultivate a strong business image. He provides a comprehensive support through the creation and maintenance of professional business website, menu design, printing services, as well as implementing an effective online ordering system. His objective is to empower these businesses to flourish and achieve sustained success and increased online sales in their respective markets. Check out aldentedigitals.com for more information.
Joshua 1:9. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be anxious, for the Lord your God goes with you wherever you are. 2 Timothy 1:7. For God gave us not a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of self-control. Psalm 37:4. Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. John 16:33. I have said these things to you, that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have tribulation, but take heart, I have overcome the world. Isaiah 40:31. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up on wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint.
Something I've been trying to do more and more in this podcast is play taps. For the many men and women who have defended this great country in all walks of service. Also, thank you. If you're serving somewhere, thank you so much. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Reserve, Coast Guard, thank you so much for defending our freedoms. Thank you so much for joining today's episode of Chit Chat, the encouraging one another podcast. My guest was Mr. Scott Burns, and it was really fun talking with him. And he does so many cool voices. If you're ever interested in doing some voiceover work, reach out to Scott. I'm sure he'll get you lined up and kind of get you in the groove of voiceover acting. Also, thank you to Riley Nicholson, C.W. Smith, and Megan Story at Raymond Hayden. Megan Story's brand new song called Lemons. Great song. Please subscribe to the podcast. It's on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you find your podcasts. Subscribe, follow. Over 130 episodes. Meeting people from all over the world, sharing their story, who's encouraged them, who's inspired them, and sharing great music by a lot of independent artists you probably never heard of. And just helping them get the word out about their music. You never know who's going to be a guest on this podcast. I'm so excited. Also, you can hear this podcast on Total Mix Radio. That's Total Mix with 2 X's, radio.org. They play my podcast there often, as well as where you find your podcast. And it's just so much fun meeting people around the world and sharing their story. This is Chit Chat, the encouraging one another podcast. It's always about encouraging others.